Alright, now in this one we have negative 7x plus 12 plus x squared. Now the first thing that I notice is this is not in the proper order. So let's rearrange the order before we continue to factor. Let's move our x squared term first, keeping it positive, and then our plain x's, so that's a negative 7x, and then our constant terms, which is a positive 12. Now once it's in the correct order, now let's go about doing our factoring. So the first rule of factoring is always to pull out the GCF. In this case we do not have one, so we have to look at how many terms we have. There are 3 terms, and this first coefficient is a 1. That means we can do this by trial and error. Now as you move forward learning how to do your factoring, they're going to all be thrown in at you, all the different ways that you can factor. So that's why it's really important to kind of go down your list. You know, GCF first, then see how many terms there are. What's the method that you're going to use to factor? Because they can be anything at any time. So since this is a 1, we're going to factor by the trial and error method, which means that we're going to break up the x squared first into x times x. Our signs are going to be the same because that's a positive 12. This one tells us which they are, so they're both negative. Now we need to break up the 12 into, something times something. And we want that, when we combine those numbers, we want them to be a 7. So how about 3 and 4? Because negative 3 times negative 4 would give us a positive 12, and negative 3x and negative 4x would give us a negative 7x. So this is how that factored. Now for the next one, we have 8a to the third plus 14a squared plus 3a to the third. Or plus 3a rather, so sorry. What's your first rule of factoring? Always pull out the GCF first. In this case we do have a GCF. We need to factor that out before we do anything else. So we're going to pull out that common a, which will leave us with 8a squared plus 14a plus 3. Now, just like what we did in the videos from the previous section, when we factor something out to begin with, we just kind of ignore it for the time being and look at the trinomial then to see if we can factor it down anymore. Now, this is a trinomial. The first coefficient is something other than 1, so we better do this by the trial and error, by the product sum method. So I'm going to multiply together the 8 times 3, which will be 24. And because it's positive, the signs will be the same, and we'll be adding. So keep that in mind as we're looking for a 14. So 1 times 24 would be 24. 2 times 12 would be 24. And positive 2 and positive 12 is a positive 14. So let's use this to rewrite the middle term. So we'll have 8a squared plus 2a plus 12a plus 3. And now let's factor by grouping since there are 4 terms. So in the first 2 terms we can pull out a 2 and an a. So when we do that reverse distribution or that factoring, 2a times 4a would give us 8a squared, and 2a times 1 would give us 2a. The next two have a 3 in common, so when we factor that out, that will leave us with 4a plus 1. Oh, that's nice. Now that we have the 4a plus 1 as a common binomial factor, we're left with our other factor of being 2a plus 3. Now don't forget, whatever you do, that you already factored something out to begin with, so we have to add it there for our answer. So our final answer actually has 3 factors this time.